paedophiles is the smell of them. They even smell of drink. If they drink alcohol, you can smell it on them. If they smoke cigarettes, you can smell the tobacco on them. If their hygiene is not good, I mean, she didn't wash herself very well. She actually stunk of very, very bad BO and bodily smells where she probably didn't wash herself properly. That goes for anybody who doesn't look after their hygiene. But a lot of survivors will turn around and say that paramountly that staff had very bad hygiene. A lot of these abusers, the thing that sticks with survivors for years after is the horrific hygiene of the abusers. The smell stayed with you and you could almost taste it for a long time afterwards.
I've heard that from a lot of survivors. It rings bells with me with Quarriers Orphans Home. There's a lot. It was like, there was these 10 prominent people who basically all got together and said, let's do some children's homes across the country. Let's make these massive. Let's put a school, a hospital, a doctor, 25 cottages in. We need, a doctor, a dentist and everything on site, and you keep everything in, like we said before, paedophiles' playground. But, when Quarriers Sandy was explaining to me that Quarriers Orphans Home, Quarry actually owned the home, so he owned the farms, so they were basically, the children were working on the farms, a bit like slave labour, yeah, and they were getting all the potatoes and the vegetables, and then they were getting fish cheap off the sea, and then that person would be getting money off the state for these children, and he'd be cooking what was produced off his farm. And Sandy can't even eat fish today because he couldn't stand it, and he used to get it rammed down his throat, and it could be there for 3 days, and if he was sick, he was made to eat that fish again, and sick. He can't eat fish to this day. It's like, there's a lot of like things in Quarriers. It's like they both knew each other, Beach Home Quarriers.
Yeah. So just make sure that mic is on. Yeah, it is mine. Just testing the mic is on. It's the same as what they did in Beach Home. It's like they put meals before you didn't eat them. Fish was another one they did, and I got a bone stuck in my throat from the fish. They tried to force me to eat this fish, and I got a bone that stuck and cut my windpipe. And I never ate fish for something like 30 years until I met my wife, and then I had fish in a fish and chip restaurant in Grimsby many years later. She said, try it. If you don't like it, don't eat it. But I tried it. I had some other condiments with it, like some curry sauce and vinegar and salt and so on and so forth. And I ate it, and I got to like it. But that lived with me for a long time. That was a long time before.
And God bless her soul, Kathy, rest in peace, Kathy. But she saved you, didn't she, Al?
She did, actually, because when I think about it, so if you think I've done 17 years in institutions, so this boy at 18, he's thrown out on the streets, he's sofa surfing where he could put anywhere he could put his head. He's sleeping in parks, he's sleeping on park benches like we're sitting on now, and going to soup kitchens and like that at railway stations and things like that, trying to find food, begging basically on the streets, because the council just did not want to know, didn't want to do anything for you, didn't want to help you. I slept outside the council buildings myself as part of what I was trying to do to get the council to recognise, look, I'm on the streets, what are you going to do? You put me in institutions for 17 years. So basically, my first 25, kind of London was my Beirut, and I had a rough time. So if you say 25 years of age, I met Kathy in my 30s. So for 10 years, I was kind of like a lost man. I was
like a rogue.
I was a bit of a rogue. I did turn to alcohol, and through alcohol, I got myself into trouble. I ended up getting incarcerated through there. But this happens to survivors, and they either go off the rails through
the state fails them.
Because the state failed them. Yeah, they took to drugs, alcohol, or violence, and it gets them into trouble, incarcerate themselves. And yeah, I did go off the rails literally, and I was a bit of a bad guy.
But that's expected from what you were landed with. When a state takes care for a child, I know that soon as that contract's gone, when they're 18, they get a bin bag. They don't get a birthday cake, they get a bin bag because the contract's gone. And that was what it was like back then. Once the contract's gone, there's no money coming in. They don't have to provide for you because they haven't got a contract anymore. So when that contract's up at 18, I mean, now they're saying that they look after you to the 25, but it should have been like that back then. Yeah. But it wasn't. You were chucked on the street. What were you meant to do? What did you actually do? Did you go to the council?
No, I did try later on with John. We took the Beach Home interim report to Wandsworth and most of the councils that are involved, because basically the Beach Home goes back to the 1800s, stems back to the 1800s. And it was a former workhouse for the poor kids of Kensington and Chelsea, where they were taken out of the houses like my area, West London, and they were placed into places like big establishments like Beach Home, Shirley Oaks, and many more. And you'll find the amount of children's homes. I mean, thousands of kids go missing every year now.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, when children are spent, when they is it like you talked about you touched on a bit of child labour, when they were no good anymore, we shipped them all over the world. Our children were sent to all four corners of the world, the Asians, the Americas, you know, Australia, places like that. Canada, you name it, we sent them all over the world, and kids are kind of like today. In the reason it's changed, it's like kids today kind of like are like drugs, right? You can use a drug once, but you can use a child hundreds of times, and that's where the money is.
Yeah.
That's where the trafficking comes into it.
It's
That's where the grooming comes into it. See, we can talk about satanic abuse, historic abuse. You know, the grooming, trafficking.
It's a good thing to bring up satanic abuse, Alan, because did you see any satanic abuse, or would you say there was any elements of satanic? Because I've seen it in Beach Home, because I've read the ICSA report into Beach Home, and I'd say it was satanic in Beach Home. You know, and you know, Jimmy Savile came to your home as well. That's in the paper that Jimmy Savile came there. So we all know that Jimmy went there. But would you say there's like a satanic element to Beach Home?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it could kind of like it was like applied trade, where they took their trade from all over the country and from different homes to homes, and it was kind of like the same abuse, the carbolic soap element.
Alan, did the paedophiles used to move from home to home?
Yes.
So how many people